Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the backswing, specifically the 3 phases of the backswing, starting with the takeaway, the hinge, and then the set. Alright, so stick around, it's going to be a lot of fun. Alright, so the backswing basically has 3 phases. The first phase, which I've talked about in great detail, is the one-piece takeaway. Now, it doesn't matter if you take it away inside, outside, or right down the line, as long as it's all in one piece, because essentially the idea is on the downswing, we need the club to stay in front of us, okay? Now, if you take it too far inside, or you take it too far outside, you can always reroute it to get it back in front of you to hit the ball. And that's no issue. For the most part, the idea behind the backswing, though, is to get us into a position at the top of the swing where we're coiled up, we have power, we're loaded into the ground, so we can release everything with no fear of the ball going anywhere out of our control. So, phase 1 is the takeaway. You guys have all learned my drill by now. Again, this is what I believe the best takeaway drill is ever created. The more advanced you want it, the further you put the ball away from your actual ball you're going to hit. The more beginner you are, the closer you put it. The idea is to roll the ball along the ground in a straight line along your alignment stick as far as you can get it comfortably until you master this move. So for me, I follow the Mo Norman way. That's a solid 12 inches, maybe 18 on my takeaway. Notice it's going right over the top of that ball. So Mo Norman used a quarter. I can use a golf ball, I can use a tee, you can use whatever you want. But the idea is the one-piece takeaway has to be extended as far as you can get it before you start the second phase. Once you have the one-piece takeaway, phase 2 is the hinge. And understand, the way you hinge a club is going to be dictated by how you grip the club. If you have a strong grip, your hinge is going to be like so. Notice how it's just slightly angled. If you have a weak grip, your hinge is going to be straight up and down. If you have a neutral grip, it's going to be a little inside, but not as much as the strong grip, okay? So that will dictate where the club goes from there. So for the rest of the video, we're going to do everything down the line because you're going to get a much better capture of what's going on with the body. So as we go into our one-piece takeaway, we get to this point here. In other words, you're handing the club. You now go into the phase of what's called the hinge. So if I take a strong grip, notice when I get to this point, my face is shut. And as I hinge, it gets back on plane. See? So for those of you with a stronger grip, you're going to want to go a little outside the line so that it stays on plane with a slightly shut face, and as you hinge, it'll all come back together. For those of you with a weak grip, okay, notice very weak. As we take the club away, one piece, we're going to get to this point and the club face is going to be a lot more open, right? So as we hinge, what happens? The face stays open, and as we turn to the top, we go to our set position, it's basically wide open. So if I were to come back through and not do anything, the face stays completely open. You just need to understand this. Don't worry about it right now. It's just something that is going to improve your awareness over time. So, phase 1, takeaway. Phase 2 is the hinge. Phase 3 is the set. Hinge, set, right? And basically the set is where we're keeping everything together, but we're allowing our arms to create as much arc as possible. Today I'm wearing a pretty tight shirt, sweater. It's very tight, but it's cold out. So my set is going to be much lower than if I had like a shirt on. My set would be up here. Okay? Understand, the higher up you go, the more off plane you get. So if you're looking for accuracy, you're not going to want to go too high. You're not going to want to set the club too high like a Justin Thomas. You're going to want to set it a little lower, more like a Kevin Kistner type, where it's just here. Okay? The key with the set is we keep our right elbow as much in front of our rib cage as we can. If you lack the ability to turn and your elbow is getting behind you, you're going to have to find a way to get it back in front of you. All right? But that's where these next 3 drills come from. All right, so drill number 1, we've already learned, is the takeaway. So once you've mastered this, and you have the club in a position at essentially, call this P1, position number 1, this line, this arm should be leveraged in line with your golf club. I don't care if the face is shut, I don't care if it's open. The only thing I'm looking for is that you're not bent, you're not twisted with your wrist, everything is in a straight line, okay? The right hand should be slightly turned, but not too much. And the biggest thing we're looking for here is that our right elbow is not getting away from our body. So we want to turn it this way, and as we take the club away, everything stays in front, okay? Now nothing has gotten away from me. So that as I do phase 2, the hinge, and I turn, the mass, the center of gravity, everything stays connected, tethered to my center of gravity. All right? So how do we hinge? Well, I think Nick Faldo created the greatest drill ever for this. And again, he probably learned it from someone, but he made it famous. And that's simply hinging from a dress and then turning to the top. This is the best way to learn how to hinge the club, straight up and down. So, how do we train this, right? There are some of you out there that are probably going to want to actually hit balls while you do this. If you feel comfortable, be my guest. Hinge it up, turn, and then hit a shot. But don't be worried if you hit hosel rockets, because it's not an easy drill. For those of you that want a more relaxed way of learning this, we're going to go back to our waggle. And the key here is we're going to waggle to this point, which creates our natural hinge. Notice, we waggle and it's already hinged. So again, like I told you guys, the waggle is everything. It's the entire golf swing. Boom. That's all we're going to do. And we're going to turn, and that's it. That's the whole golf swing. The whole backswing anyway. So we waggle, we turn, and we hit. Very, very simple. Start very slow with this. It's not an easy drill. I make it look easy because I've done it a million times. So that's how we're going to learn the hinge. If you would like to do it Nick Faldo's way, that's fine. This is a way that Porzak Golf teaches it as well. It's perfectly fine. You're more than welcome to do that. Just understand, when you go to connect the takeaway with the wrist hinge, it's going to be more difficult for you because you're going to have a feel of staying in front of yourself like so, instead of creating an arc and creating width. So phase 2 is the hinge. Phase 1 is the takeaway. So takeaway, hinge, and then we have the set. The set is where we basically extend our arc as far as we can get it and load our right hip joint as much as possible. You can train this 1,000 different ways, but I recommend doing it without a golf ball. And here's why. You need to be completely locked into this hip joint and locked into how much stretch. Let me show you guys this way. How much stretch you can get from this shoulder down to your left glute. It looks something like this. So depending on your mobility and your flexibility, this is going to change. And then finally, your balance. If you take this club away and you stretch too far, you're going to lose your balance. You're not going to be able to get the club back on plane and hit the golf ball consistently. So I recommend you train this at home in front of a mirror. You can have a ball down if you want, but as you do your takeaway and then your hinge and do your set, what you're looking for is almost a straight right leg. Now my knee is very slightly bent, but my straight right leg is essentially managing the entire torque of my golf swing. So I can do lunges, or squats on this right leg if I want. I can do whatever I want from here. I have all my power located right here. Now as I shallow the club, that power transfer is going to go into my left side, but that's the transition drill that you've already learned. In order to perfect the takeaway and the backswing, you have to perfect the set. And the set is your maximum load. So for me, I don't have the longest arms in the world. My set is going to be a lot shorter than, let's say, someone with really long arms like a Tony Finau. Even though he's got a flat swing, his set is way out here. It's going to be totally different depending on your biomechanics. So don't try to maximize this, compare it to somebody else's swing. What I want you to do is I want you to do it for yourself. How far can you set it and hit it? And again, it's not an easy drill, so don't come out thinking you're gonna master this in one try. This might take a little while, hence why I want you to practice it at home. Although I want you to eventually learn the inertia of the golf club, that's an advanced drill. In order to learn the backswing and how to maintain it, you have to learn biomechanics first. In biomechanics, we always work slowly. Inertia drills, we work very quickly because we need to feel forces, okay, acting on our body, and we need to oppose those forces. But with a drill where we're working biomechanics, in other words, the one-piece takeaway, well, there's some semblance of control there, right? But like Hogan said, once you get the first 6 inches right, everything else pretty much happens, assuming right grip, right stance, posture, ball position, and alignment. Got to have the fundamentals right. So what we're going to do is you're going to do, let's say, 10 takeaways. Then you're going to do 10 takeaways with hinges. Then you're going to do 10 takeaways with hinges with a set. And you're eventually going to have a feel, okay? And that feeling will allow you to let go of what the club is doing and your body is doing and let the club start flowing with you. And the reason for that is because the toe has inertia, right? It wants to go up. What's the easiest way for that to happen? Well, it's for our wrists to hinge. The takeaway, the face needs to be square on the takeaway as much as possible because we're keeping our center of gravity at the ball. We're not turning in the takeaway because we're trying to create torque in the golf swing. And then thirdly, as we set it at the top, we're preparing for a transition. If we just go to the top and start transitioning, everything's going to be out of whack. There's a sequencing to this. Like I told you in the other videos, tempo is everything. So there's a 3-to-1 tempo that we have to prepare for. That's why we do our backswing in 3 steps. 1, 2, 3, then we transition, and then we hit. Very simple stuff. So, for those of you that are going to train this, just understand you're training biomechanics. It needs to be slow. So here's what it's going to look like. I'm going to give myself, imagine me doing 10 of these before I hit a golf ball. Okay, now I've completed 10. Now I'm just going to try and replicate the feel. And the thing you got to notice about this too is once you have felt something, you can let go of what's actually happening. So there it is. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you soon.